What's up, ladies and gentlemen? You know I'm good, or at least my character is good, because his hat's on backwards. So he is ready for business. Don't mess with him. But anyways, the patch has finally come out. Most people are happy about it. But now I can finally actually comment on how the patch turned out, as opposed to just theoretically proposing what I thought it might turn out like. And I will be leaving most of the changes out, because they essentially turned out how we expected as far as the cluster bombs and stuff like that. So one of the biggest issues that has actually come up since the update is that people have thought that the tank has been nerfed too much. And I've played a lot of the tank lately because I wanted to get a good opinion on it. And people who think that, in my opinion, the people who think that the tanks are underpowered now are talentless whores. We'll just put it like that, because I can still shoot down StarHawks really easily. I can annihilate troops from like halfway across the map with it still. There is no way that the tank is underpowered. And people are like, you shouldn't have to, you know, directly hit an infantry. And it's like, yeah, well, that may not be realistic, but for the sake of gameplay and making it fun for everybody, that was definitely a necessary change. I mean, yeah, just the changes to the tank were good. And people who actually have skill at the game can utilize the tanks no problem. Now, there is another thing that did not get patched, patched yet, which was the Bruiser perk, which I do know that they are working on. Because the issue, of course, is that people can walk through whole bases by themselves, especially if they go unchecked. Because it only takes a couple hits to take down buildings, and even tanks, which is a frustrating thing, because you're in a fully armored tank, some guy walks up, knifes you 2 or 3 times, and you're dead. So I do propose a solution to this, because I think that if you're going to complain about something, you should always propose a solution. Otherwise, you're just kind of worthless. So I think that they should keep the Bruiser perk, but instead of having it so you can knife buildings and tanks and do a lot of damage, just have it so you spawn with a grinder. Just like the other perks where you can spawn with shotguns and rocket launchers and things like that. Because, in my opinion, the grinder is fairly well balanced. It destroys buildings quickly, but not too quickly. In my opinion, now that's open to debate, and I accept that, but I think the grinder's good. So yeah, replace the Bruiser perk so you can spawn with a grinder. Because that would take away kind of the BS of people being able to knife buildings and tanks into the ground just within like a second, while at the same time still allowing people that want to specialize in essentially like anti-base or anti-building play, they can still spawn with a grinder to start with. So I think that is the most reasonable solution to that. But let me know what you think, because like I said, I'm just one man's opinion, and I certainly don't know everything about it. And then, of course, the one thing that I was surprised about was that they pulled out they took out the kick function. And this is kind of a really thorny issue, because on one hand, I mean, it's obvious that the kick feature is abused by hosts who just don't like good players on their server. And you all know who I mean. It's the guys who don't want to admit that they're not very good, so whenever somebody who's remotely decent joins the game, they get booted. Or if somebody decides that they want to play in a tank and that guy doesn't like tanks, then they get booted. Just silly things like that. So that was definitely going on, and that's, I think, primarily why they got rid of it. However, it means that now there's a bunch of trolls. Well, I wouldn't say a bunch. There's a fair amount of trolls that are playing the game, and you can't do anything about it. Now, there is still a way to boot them, which is, I think, if I'm correct and remember correctly, it's 5 essentially votes from players to kick them, and then it kicks them, but then it doesn't even permanently kick them. They can join the server again. So that needs to be sorted out, and personally, I think they should just re-implement the kick feature. Now, there should be some changes to it so that it can't be abused quite as easily. But there's no way you're going to be able to avoid all the abuse that goes with hosts being able to kick anybody that they want. Now, I would propose kind of a combination of the two solutions that they have. So they include a kick feature, but also have votes. So it's like it would take, 3 votes, and then the host could kick the person or something like that. So then if there's really a problem player, people can vote on it like a little less than 5, because 5 honestly can be hard to get in the middle of the game when people are just trying to play. But 3 votes, and then the host can kick the player. Now, like I said, this is still subject to abuse, because if there's, say, a bunch of friends or a clan in there, they could all vote to ban somebody, and then the host could ban them. So, I mean, they're still open for abuse, but I think it's the lesser of all the evils that you could have, which is, 1, just having a straight kick feature and it being abused by jerks who don't have any talent, or being abused by people without the kick feature, being abused by people who just troll and then can't get kicked from it. And that's what I think are the major issues coming up. And as you can see in the background, the StarHawk froze. I guess that's another thing. There's been some server stability issues, but hopefully they'll get that sorted out. But anyways, keep calm and super champion.